everyone. Thanks for joining me again today. My name is Sharon Chaden-Glass, and this is the IDEA networking session for October 2021. IDEA stands for Instructional Designers and Educators Alliance. This is just an informal group where we hear from instructional designers that were once teachers, educators in the past, and we find out their stories of how they got into the field of instructional design. Sometimes it's kind of funny how we even find out that this field even exists. We're going to be hearing from two guest speakers tonight, Tameka Harris and Daniela Vargas. Tameka is in Maryland and Daniela is in Costa Rica. So we get to go international tonight. So as you're listening to them talk about their stories, we'll give them each about 5 minutes each to kind of talk about how they got into the field, and we'll go into breakout rooms and we'll end with whole group Q&A. And with that, I'll mute myself and hand it over to Tameka.
Thank you so very much. My question to you tonight is, have you ever found yourself in the middle of doing one thing and then inspiration somehow comes to you and you're inspired to pivot, make a shift, make a change? You might not know exactly what you need to do to make that change. You might not know exactly who you need to go to talk about the shift that's happening. But I wonder if there's people in here, and you can fill in the chat, just say yes or no. Have you ever been like set on going one way in your life, in your career, and then all of a sudden a shift, right? And you just feel it in your gut mostly, right? Or you understand it in your head, but it's not quite clear. I see some yes, it's happening right now. That is exactly what happened to me about 4 or 5 years ago. I was a professor at a university. I did it for just like one semester. But innately, I started out believing that I was this entertainment business girl, right? Like just media and entertainment. That's my thing. All of a sudden, to all my yesers, all of a sudden, I started feeling a shift, and it happened down here in my gut. No, it wasn't gas. No, I didn't eat something bad. It was literally feeling like, oh my goodness, this might not be it anymore, or there could be more to my journey. I wonder what it could be. And so for me, the best way that I know how to shift is by getting more information and going to school and getting education. At this time, I had already had a master's degree in entertainment business, right? Because I thought that was my path forward. Still could be. But in this shift, I decided to go back to school and get a second master's degree. Now, before you wow and all that kind of thing, no, you do not need a master's degree. But you have to understand, I am a Black woman who had great examples. My grandmother, my mother's mother, had 2 master's degrees, and she was born in 1924. Imagine that, a Black woman who mostly is in the South, getting another 2 master's degrees. And this is all after the age of 40, right? Raising 7 children, 2 failed marriages, trying her best. And this was not in the day of online learning, mind you. And she still had to keep a roof over everyone's head and live and survive. So my grandmother had 2 master's degrees. And then, of course, my mother, beautiful woman, she got 2 master's degrees. So I was literally in a crossroad, like, look, Tamika, we're going to have to go and get another master's degree. We can't let these 2 women come before you and make it like that. So I was in the crossroad, and I went back to school to get a master's degree in instructional design and technology. And at the time, it was a whisper to me. I kept hearing about instructional design. I was like, what is this? Because in the pivot, let's all face it, when you're pivoting, you don't want to start over from scratch. Oftentimes we don't. And so I was like, do I have to start all over? Instructional design offered me the opportunity to capitalize on what I already was building in entertainment business, right? Or media and entertainment communications. And so, no, I didn't have to start over. It actually maximized my potential in the marketplace. Here's another thing I want you to think about. In my pivot, I was looking around in the marketplace, and it was very obvious to me. It was like 2015, 16. It was very obvious to me that something was shifting in the job marketplace, right? People were getting hired with more income for jobs in STEAM and STEM, right? And I wanted to be able to make more money. I wanted to be able to be flexible in how I made that money, right? I could work for someone else, meaning an employer like I do now. I could work for myself. I could work on the side if I want to. I could be freelance. What if I have, children? I could still continue. So it just allowed me more flexibility to become an instructional designer. I could be a consultant. I could be an employer. I could be an entre-employee. It gave me some options there. And then with the whole STEAM and STEM thing, the earning potential is just higher than it would have been if I just had stayed in my first career path. So I think my 5 minutes are up, but I just wanted to give you a little bit of a feel for the pivot, my shift, and how things happened for me. Again, I was a professor at the time. And then I'm gonna wrap up with this. I was very much looking for an opportunity where I could learn on the job, but also get paid. I didn't want to have to work a job over here and then still have dreams of becoming an instructional designer over there. Forgive my light, it's dying. It's okay. And so I looked for a e-learning developer position, right? That was kind of like an apprenticeship. They paid me a full-time salary. Wasn't the greatest salary, but it was okay, like 50,000. It was cool, and it was a great start. It was a great start. It was a great start. And so I just want to encourage everyone who is on the line. Look, if you're in the middle of a pivot, like, or middle of a shift like I was, you are not alone. You are not alone. You are in the best place of your life. And I hope that you choose instructional design as your path forward, just like I chose for me. I'm Tamika J. Harris. You can check me out on hellotamika.com. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
I love it. That is so great. I wanted to add on to what you said about that pit in your stomach, like the moment you kind of know, like, I got to do something else. I felt like that when I was teaching and I realized I can't grow here anymore. I'm sure some of you are nodding like I totally agree with that. And it was something, sometimes it was subtle, but other times it was flat out in my face, where I would, have a supervisor who would say things to me that I was like, well, that's going against my growth. Oh, and there literally is no other job I can do here that advances me personally. Why am I giving you my life? So I feel
no,
like
it's true.
Yeah.
It's true. And when I really sat down, and this was really early on when I didn't even know fully about instructional design, because I really don't think, I think you have to be really hands-on with this career in order to really unfold it and get a true understanding of it. But yeah, it's an amazing career. And what I love about it too is that no 2 days look alike. No 2 days are the same. No one project is the same. It literally humbles you every time. Mm-hmm. And I love that, because it's just like, there is no way to really feel like, there are some days where you feel like, I got it today. And I'm telling y'all, those days are very few and far in between. But there are days that really I feel like, I need to learn some more. I need to seek some more. And that's what instructional design does. So it's an amazing career.
Yeah. All right, I'm going to hand it over to Daniela. And Daniela, we are ready for you.
Hi. Yeah, thank you. I wanted to thank you for inviting me to the session. And first of all, I just want to say, both of you, Sharon, Tamika, you're so eloquent, so articulate, and well, not just the software. I really loved listening to your story. A little bit of my story is, well, it's kind of funny. I'm currently in the pivot once again. I'm transitioning to a new job, still in the instructional design area, but without getting like too ahead of myself. Let me just tell you that I like saying that I've had many past lives, and not in the sense that I was a princess in a past life or something like that, but that um, I started off when I finished high school. I decided to study Spanish philology since I'm really passionate about literature. I wanted to, well, I enrolled in that career. I started studying it at college. And one day to me, it's a little bit sudden. You know how your body sometimes, you know something and your body's trying to tell you something, but usually we don't listen until that we just have like a visceral reaction to something. And one day I just woke up and I just knew it in my stomach. I knew it in my heart. I just knew completely that I wasn't going to continue studying that. So I always had an interest in politics, diplomacy, and I started studying international relations. This career I did finish. I have a bachelor's in international relations. I worked for different embassies. I worked for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs doing an internship. And I really like this area in theory. I don't know if that's something that you can relate to. Sometimes things sound completely different when you're studying them. And then, well, for example, when you enter the classroom, there's nothing that can prepare you for all those faces staring at you, and you're the one that has to say something. It felt a little bit like that. It was very different in practice than what I had learned in theory. And while I still like it, I had a good experience studying that. I also had that nagging thought, like maybe this isn't it. This isn't it for me. And I continued until I also had that reaction that I just knew I couldn't continue. Then I spent a year deciding what was going to happen with my life, what I was going to do. It was a very important time for myself and for self-reflection. I think it's important that we all sometimes take as much time as we can and that we can allow ourselves to in order to really just sit down and think, am I in the path that I really want to be on? And those important questions that sometimes we don't think about in our day-to-day lives. So I had this time off that I spent actually taking care of my niece and just helping take care of her. And I started thinking, like I remembered when I was little, I always wanted to be like my mom, who is also a teacher. I really just wanted to be like her. I remember telling everyone that I wanted to be a teacher. Well, just between us, I initially told people that I wanted to be a Pokemon nurse, but I also wanted to be a teacher. So that started to make a little bit more sense to me. I started researching about it, really just trying to get an idea of what that would be like, if that could work out for me. So I enrolled in teaching. I started teaching, worked, did private tutoring. I did, I taught preschool, taught elementary, a little bit of middle school. And well, I really enjoy teaching, and in theory, it was just the greatest fit for me. I had all these teaching philosophies that I was so passionate about. And that I thought, oh, when I'm a teacher, I'm just going to implement this and it's going to be awesome. And as we all know, that's not always possible for us, especially if we start working at a school that has a specific teaching methodology or teaching philosophy. And either way, I realized, and this is also something that happened between my time for self-reflection and my time for teaching. Well, when I was teaching in teaching school, what I realized was there was a common denominator in all of my past lives. In my case, my specific case, I used to burn out really easily. And I know in the last session we discussed that, yeah, that's true. We discussed that teaching might not be always, well, it might not always be the best fit for introverts. I realized that all of the careers that I had chosen, all the career paths were very people facing, and I burnt out really, really fast. So that also got me thinking. Eventually, I realized, and with the help of a professional, I realized that those changes usually happen and are common on women on the spectrum. I got an evaluation and just realized that there was a reason why all those things were happening, and that I felt so much more burnt out than I would have expected, and that it happened so much quicker than I would have expected. And then, as we all know, the pandemic happened. I know I'm also, this has been really long, so I'll try to speed up the process. The pandemic happened. I started researching how to create online materials for my students. Eventually, I was teaching first grade. There were 2 first grades that, and well, they mixed the groups, ended up being just one group, and the teacher in charge had more seniority over me. So I had to look for another job. And in that transition, I started learning about instructional design. I remember when I was trying to create materials for my students that would work in an online setting, I started learning about instructional design. And I remember telling my husband, like, I think I could do this. So I enrolled in one of those online courses to get to know a little bit about the area. I started learning about storyline. I also knew how to create videos and beyond. I learned about basic video editing, just trying to get a feel of it and trying to create like a small portfolio. Eventually, I found an opportunity that I was able to use those tools in. And honestly, it's been such a big change for me. And I wouldn't trade this, this career path that I'm currently on for, honestly, I wouldn't trade it for anything else. I love, well, where I currently work, and one of my core values as an instructional designer has to do with accessibility. I love that we can create content for audiences that in the past might not have, well, might have had certain roadblocks to access online content or to further their professional careers. I love that we can help with that. And something I recently was talking about this with someone else, with an acquaintance. Honestly, it's the thing that matters to me the most about being an instructional designer, and the thing that I'm the most passionate about. And that's kind of my story. I don't know if that's a relatable story. What I'm hearing is from teaching to instructional design. And I know teachers in general sometimes don't choose teaching as their first career. We usually land there after a long period of self-reflection and trying a lot of things out, figuring things out for ourselves. So I hope that's relatable to to some of you at least. And thanks for letting me share my story.
Thank you for sharing your story with us, Daniela. I want to add on to what you were saying about the introvertedness. And the teaching profession is hard on introverts. And, I used to think that introvert meant you were shy. It's not that. It's just, where does your energy go? Like if your students are using your energy and you get home and if there's people at home that need you, it's like, oh, I'm sorry, kids, my actual kids, like my biological kids, like I have nothing left for you at the end of the day. I
Definitely. Yeah.
Go ahead. Did you want to say something, Daniela?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, it's definitely about learning how to manage your spoons and how to manage your energy. In particular, when I was teaching first grade, I had to go with my students to music class, and they were playing these xylophones. So you can imagine my mood after listening to that every Thursday. It was really loud, and it's about learning to manage your spoons.
So fun. So fun. Hey, everybody, welcome back. I want to make sure I mention a really important resource in case you have not heard of it. I'm putting it in the chat, and if you are watching this via recording, you can search it in LinkedIn. It's called A Path to Learning and Development, or A Path to L&D. And it's a group for educators who are looking to break into the field of learning and development, which is kind of the broad umbrella term for what instructional design falls under, especially if you're going to go the corporate route. It was started by Sarah Stevick, and she and I are presenting for Mid-TESOL on October 23rd about why you're not just a teacher, or alternative career paths in learning and development. So if that sounds interesting to you, I strongly encourage you to check it out. I'll drop the registration link in the chat. I want to also mention before we open up to whole group Q&A that the next networking session that we'll have is Tuesday, November 2nd, 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern. If you found this helpful and want to come back, I would love to have you. All right, I'm going to take the spotlight off of myself and open it up to find out what questions you might have. Joshua, or is it Josh?
Josh is fine.
All right, Josh, I'm ready.
Yeah, so I think this will probably be a lot more case by case, maybe on where you work, but I think I'm very curious about what work-life balance looks like. Now I think I find myself more often than not. I was trying to lower my hand, but I don't know how there it is.
I did, and then you put it back up. Anyway,
I put it back up. I find that even when I'm done with my workday at school, I'm still thinking about, what am I going to do tomorrow? What seating chart am I going to implement so I can keep my sanity for the next few days? And just like, it's on and on and on. And then sometimes before bed, I'm like, I forgot to do this. So now I'm awake for another 10 minutes thinking about, now I got to think about this for tomorrow. So I guess I'm rambling, but my question was just, what is that work-life balance, at least from your perspective, or whoever else is in here, kind of look like as an instructional designer? Because we're told, let's keep your contract hours, but then contract hours don't always fit what we're doing in the classroom.
I can speak just real quickly about what it's like for me in higher education, then I'll let Tamika and Daniela weigh in. I love my work-life balance because when I'm not working, I actually do not think about work. I do not plan anything. I don't do anything on the weekends or the evenings anymore. And I gave up my summers. I did not want to make the change because I'm give up my summer. I don't miss it. I don't miss it at all because I'm not stressed out. I'm not so stressed out that I need 4 weeks off just to recover so I can enjoy 3 weeks. To then August comes and I'm like, oh my God, I gotta go back and do it again. I don't do that anymore. And if you're teaching, you know what I'm talking about. August 1st hits and you're like, oh God, it's happening again. But August 1st hit this year, and I was like, cool. Here we go, another academic year. And I don't feel like I don't have that feeling of impending doom is coming. Like, I'm just like, no, let's do it. But that's my job. That's where I am. I have an amazing boss who guards my time and my sanity like no one has ever guarded it before. Like, he asks me if I'm being given too much to do. No one ever asked me that when I was a teacher. I cannot tell you, there was nobody who ever supervised me as a teacher who was like, I'm giving you too much to do. No one ever asked me that. They would just ask me if I could do more. And I would always say yes, because I was a good girl and I was a great teacher, and it burned me out. Yeah. Tamika or Daniela, would either of you like to say anything?
Daniela, you go first.
Thank you, Tamika. It's honestly such a big difference. Like Sharon was saying, I no longer feel anxious all the time about going back or finding ways to, like you were mentioning, keeping my sanity over the next couple of days. Sure, if I have a big project that I'm working on, then I'll definitely, well, that's just me. I'll think about it every now and then, but not that to-do list where you're just laying in bed at night and you think like, oh, tomorrow I have to grade this, I have to hand this out. And you just get some shut-eye, but you don't really feel like you're rested. Now I'll think about it sometimes on my time off, but it's not the same feeling at all. And I've actually had an experience where my previous manager, my previous boss told me, I've seen this happen in teachers turned instructional designers, and you tend to say yes to everything. You tend to overwork, and we really don't want you to do that. So it's something that it's kind of in our blood as teachers, and we really feel the difference when we start working in instructional design. So yes, the difference in work-life balance is huge. So yeah, that's from my experience. And I don't know if you want to say anything else, Tamika.
Sure. Work-life balance, I think, differs. So just for clarity, I'm a senior instructional systems designer in corporate America. And so I've experienced two different extremes. One where work-life balance was sketchy at best. And I've worked where I am now, where work-life balance it's all right. It really depends, I think, on the culture of the, PTO is paid time off, right? Sorry. Thanks, Sharon. So it really depends on the culture of the company. Even job announcements, if they're sounding really rushed, like fast paced, we're going to, knock it out the park as soon as you get on board. I don't know about those. I just worry about work-life balance in those types of situations. And sometimes these job announcements will give you the tone of the company. But if it's just stating kind of what you're doing, what you're going to do, I like the job announcements that actually talk to you like, hey, are you looking for an opportunity that you can do X, Y, Z? Because I would be looking at the job opportunity like, yeah, that's me. And that actually happened to me. But yeah, it depends. My answer is it depends on the culture of the company as to work-life balance.
I definitely agree with you. And that's something that you find out in the interview. Ask those questions like, what's the pace like? How many projects will I be managing? Am I managing the projects? Am I working with other people? How many people are on a team? And those were questions I brought into my interview. And I found out in my interview, I'm not going to be the only person working. I get to work with how many? I get to work with 4 people. You have a graphic designer? I don't have to do that. That's cool. So find out who you're going to be working with and who the clients are. And in my case, the clients are faculty. And I was like, I got that. I don't know about respiratory therapy, but I know how to ask questions. And if they can't explain it to me, how are they going to explain it to the students? So I'm actually a pretty good test subject for whatever they're trying to explain, or whatever, whatever content they're trying to get across to students. They have to be able to explain it to me. Otherwise, how are these college students can be able to understand it? We have time for maybe one more quick question before we run out of time. Does anybody have anything burning that they really want to ask?
And if it's burning, make sure it's hot.
Yeah, hot question. Samantha says most of the job postings for instructional design ask for several years of experience in the field. Okay, I'll take that one. Don't believe it. If nobody's applying for the job, you're the top candidate. So put your job application in anyway, right? Yeah. Maybe they want somebody with a couple years of experience, but if you're the most qualified candidate, you're in, baby, right? So just go ahead and do it. And right, Tamika?
My add to that is you all are educators, so you have experience.
Oh yeah.
And so it's just a matter of narrating your experience in a way that makes sense to corporate America or wherever it is you're trying to go. I believe that you have, each of you right now, I'm looking at all of you, each of you have what it takes today to put in your applications to corporate America. I believe that each of you, without even knowing you, I believe that you can apply for anything like 5 to 6, 7 years, depending on how long you've been an educator. You can believe in yourself to just put in the application. The worst that will happen is they will say no, or they will ghost you altogether. But do it. Go for it.
What if you have to lose? I agree. And I mean, the worst thing that you can happen is you don't get it. And once you've been past that rejection, you can be like, well, you know what? It's better anyway, because the person that does see my value and does, find me a suitable fit for whatever job, I'm probably going to be happier there.
I was just about to say that is a yes and an amen, Sharon, because fit is everything.
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of times you will be grateful for the no's. I'm grateful more now for the no's that I get than the yeses that I get, because it means that I'm supposed to be there, right? Or I'm supposed to consider the opportunity. So, yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. Sorry, I just want to add to that, well, my dad always says, you already have the no. So just go for it. The best that can happen is that they'll say yes. Worst case scenario, just keep applying. You'll find the opportunity that's suited for you. And I also want to add that it kind of varies country by country. Sometimes job postings here will ask, we're looking for someone with 5 years of experience. Let's go. What? This field doesn't have that many years of being in the country. How are you asking for that? So it really just varies. And that when you see something like that, it's a little bit sketchy. So just when you have a good idea of what the field is like in your country, in your area, it will also help you to know how much they know about what they're looking for. Yeah. So just get a feel of that and try to evaluate those job postings and see if they work for you as well.
Yeah. All right, everybody, that brings us right to 8 o'clock about. I'm gonna thank our guest speakers. Thank you so much, Tamika and Daniela, for sharing your time and your talent with us. And I hope that I see a lot of you back here next month, November 2nd, 7 to 8 p.m. Otherwise, I will see you next time. Have a great night, everybody.
Thank you, Sharon. Thank you, everyone.